Hello there. Welcome back to Empower Your Soul. This is really interesting right now, starting to record this podcast episode because I felt called to pull a card for the collective that's listening to this podcast right now, whenever right now is for you, whether it's the first time or repeat. Totally love that. And I was shuffling some cards out of the Energy and Spirit Oracle by Sandra Ann Taylor. And one card literally popped out at me, and I think it's for me, but I'm going to read it like it's for you too, because as soon as I hit record for this podcast episode, it felt like I was going galactic again. So if you can read energy and you can kind of feel what my energy feels like right now, here we go. I'm going to start to stutter because it's an outer body experience is literally what it feels like. It feels like astral traveling while I'm here in the present talking to all of you. So this is kind of like next level channeling is the only way that I can describe it, because it feels like I'm literally out of my body channeling the information instead of spirit coming into my body. Is that weird? It's a little weird. Anyway, this card is number 5, Wisdom of the Magi, and it says mental clarity. And the card says, the Magi brings powerful, perhaps life-changing guidance for you. My bell went off in the background. I'll let you know. It's in the other room. I can hear it though. When this card appears in your reading, it indicates an important project is either already in works or may be coming your way soon. This may be something personal or might relate to a career or professional goal. Either way, you have the ability now to take on complex endeavors, and you'll be guided and inspired by this great eternal collective mind. In ancient times, people sought assistance from the Magi, the wise men who were alchemists and astrologers. These masters were thought to have access to hidden and magical information. So whenever you need input on a decision or plan, open your heart and mind to the empowering wisdom of this majestic group of guides. When meditating or falling asleep, call on the Magi. Enlightening guidance will be coming your way. And the affirmation that comes with this card is, I am free to choose positive and honoring thoughts. My mind is open to the unlimited wisdom of the Magi brings to my life. Let's see if I can. I'm going to ask these galactic people that are channeling through me right now, could we please not have me stutter every 2 seconds? That would be great. Okay. And I'll hold up for the card for anyone that is looking over on YouTube. It is... looks like a what's that movie Big with the fortune teller? You know what I'm talking about. Looks like that guy on the card. Okay, so let's talk today all about your perspective, and this is going to go really deep, so it's not just about your perspective, but it was really interesting, and I've been churning in my mind all about discernment for the past several weeks to record a podcast episode. And lo and behold, I have tried to write it a few times or channel some information for all of you about discernment. And I kept going down these rabbit holes that didn't make any sense. And lo and behold, lovely Sarah pops into the Mediumship Mastermind and asks me the exact questions that you all need to hear today. And so here I am delivering these amazing questions to you and answering them as channeled from spirit in this session. So a few weeks back over on the Mediumship Mastermind, we had something really interesting happen. So Sarah had asked about flashing lights out of the corner of her eyes, because she mentions that while she's sitting in her office doing readings, it feels like somebody's driving by and she gets flashes out of the corner of her eye, but when she looks, there's nobody there. She lives on a very quiet road. Cars don't come down that road very often. So I started laughing because she asked this right after I had gotten back from my vacation in the Caribbean, where every night, like clockwork, I could sit facing a certain direction and there were flashes out of the corner of my eye every couple minutes. I mean, it was like clockwork. I did it every night I was there because it was so wild. And to let you know what it felt like there was somebody to the right of me at nighttime with a camera with a flash. And it would be flash, 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 flash. And if I turned my head, I couldn't see it. It was like your brain takes over. Those of you that know, you know, when you're looking at things straight on, your brain can kind of discern it, get it out of there. You can't actually see it, but when it's in the periphery, you can recognize it and see it. And it was the wildest thing in the entire world when I was down in the Caribbean. And it was every night like clockwork, over and over again, for as long as I was sitting there, like hours. I would sit there and just see these flashing lights out of the corner of my eyes. I loved it. I thought it was really fun and interesting. The other girls in the group, also the other women, sorry, they're not girls, I will work on that, had stories about their flashing lights as well. And it's just really funny because we were all kind of laughing about it. No one really knew what it was, but it was just kind of crazy that everybody had similar experiences. And we acknowledged that and kind of moved on to the next topic at hand. A few weeks later, Sarah brought up this topic again and asked everyone to tune in, if they wanted to these flashing lights and see what they were. And it was more of this like curiosity experiment, which I loved. And so she had done it herself, and she was looking to the mastermind for validation. Do they perceive what she perceives these flashing lights are? It is so funny because I tapped in, but my intuition told me, do not respond yet. Let this go. So I let it go. I didn't respond. And I let everybody else in the group respond first because I wanted to see what their responses were too. And I'm so glad that I got that intuitive hit and I followed it, because the mastermind ladies all indicated that they were tapping into this energy, this vibration of earthly beings, fairies, elementals. It felt very light. It felt very fun and buzzy, but it didn't feel bad. It just felt like, I'm going to be honest, kind of like fairy energy. At the same time, Sarah asked another group the same exact thing, and they responded, all of them, is that they perceived it as galactic or Pleiadian energy. Nothing mentioned about earth beings, nothing mentioned about fairies. Everyone kind of went off the deep end on the galactic realm. And I loved this. So Sarah sent me a message. Actually, before I go there, I'm going to say when I tapped in, I actually felt both, if that's funny. I thought it was really funny that I tapped in and felt both, and she had one group that said one thing, one group that said another. So I actually, when she sent me this message, I replied back that I was actually feeling both. And it's kind of funny that two different groups picked up on it. So her message that she sent me, which was lovely, it said, what struck me was how both groups tapped into the same energy, but perceived it through different lenses. And what's interesting is that the second group works regularly with intergalactic beings and had a strong focus on that kind of energy, whereas this hadn't been part of Sarah's personal experience. She didn't disagree with them, but it wasn't a framework that she's worked with. So it really made Sarah reflect on how our lived experiences, beliefs, and even what we are open to can shape and interpret our energy. I mean, spot on, Sarah. Like, when is your podcast coming on? I'll post it for you here. But she did leave me with two incredible questions. Again, these are the discernment questions that I meant to answer for all of you. So number one was, how much does it matter if we label the energy if the message or feeling is the same? And number two, how do we grow in discernment without becoming too rigid in what we think we know? Holy shit, right? Amazing questions. Let's start with question number one. How much does it matter what we label if the energy or message or feeling is the same? And as I was tapping into this before hitting record here today, it was like ding, 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 gold star question, because it's such a human, it's that shift from the human to the soul paradigm, right? Because as humans, we want labels for everything. We want everything to be black and white. It makes us feel safe. It helps our egos and our brains put things into these nice little tiny boxes that we can categorize and explain, and it makes things predictable, and it gives us some semblance of control if we know where some of this stuff is coming from, because then we can kind of take a look at that and almost discern, like, do I trust this message or do I not? If it's galactic, do I trust it a little less than than it's my angels? But if you think about it, so many people are asking the wrong questions, right? Because they want to know, what is this? Where is it coming from? right? They want to have that semblance of control by trying to figure out where the message is coming from and what the exact answer they want is, or the exact question they want answered is. But it is like untangling spaghetti. Because a lot of, and this goes back to my corporate days, a lot of what people think they want or need or know is not actually what they think or need or know. Because a lot of people are asking the wrong questions. They want everything to fit into their paradigm of, I'm right, I need this information. If I just get the answer to what are my 3 next steps here in this space, and I trust my angels to give that to me because they're all knowing, then I'll take those steps and everything's going to be right. But isn't that so interesting? Because a lot of people aren't always accepting of an answer if it doesn't come from the place that they want it to, if it doesn't come with appropriate evidence or information or people that help our egos feel safe in the information that we've received. And I have to tell you, it's the ultimate trust in spirit when you don't know where this information is coming from and you just receive the message. And this is why I am such a big proponent of learning all the spiritual modalities that you can, because a lot of this is, and I've said this over and over again, this is the same information. You are just tuning into a different frequency to get it. Because you bet your butt that your departed loved ones, your angels and guides, your galactic beings, your Akashic records, all have access to the same information. But what are you most comfortable as maybe the medium, as the metaphysical practitioner, what are you most comfortable tapping into? What is your client most comfortable in receiving the information from? Spirit does not care where you get this information from. It just wants you to receive the message, the loving guidance, the support, so that you can live your best and highest life. So yeah, it's interesting, right? Because it doesn't really matter where the energy comes from, what we label it, as long as the message or feeling is received by the client so that they can get exactly what they need out of it. So I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to challenge you whether you're a professional, whether you're getting a reading, whether you're in practice circles. I'm going to challenge you. Oh shit, we're going to do this in the Mediumship Mastermind tonight. This is being recorded in advance. I know this is going to happen tonight. By the time you listen to this will be past tense. But try receive a message and don't worry where it comes from, who it comes from. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. And it feels uncomfortable, sure, but it doesn't matter. So yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, Sarah. It doesn't matter. Moving on to question number 2. How do we grow in discernment without becoming too rigid in what we know? Lord, I want to shout this from the rooftops because there's 2 different parts to this answer. And I'm going to answer the second half first and the first half second. So I want to first answer, so I guess this is like 2A. How do we become less rigid in what we know? Ding. I'm just going to ding when the bell dings in the background. And I'm just, whenever I'm asking or thinking about these things, the movie, what was it, Contact with Jodie Foster back in the day, the very end of that movie, which sticks out in my head, and I can't remember her exact words, maybe you can, but paraphrased is, do we really think we're the only ones out there, right? And that was the whole thing about Contact, right? But do we really think we have uncovered everything there is to know about the spiritual world? Do we think that this is mediumship done, soup to nuts? Was no offense, Edgar Casey. Was Edgar Casey as good as it gets? Right? QHHT, I can't remember her name right now. Dolores Cannon. Do we think that that's the best there is for Bashar? Is that the best there is? Or do we think that we have just tapped into the very surface level of what the spirit world is, and there's so much more that we need to learn, and so much more that we can't even fathom here in these physical bodies and with these limited brains of ours, that we have yet to learn. So I'm going to challenge you. If you agree with that, which I hope you do, I'm going to challenge you to think about, why are you rigid in what you think you know? And I'm going to tell you to look within first, because does it feel, again, safe to stay within a structure or a paradigm? Does it help you give control over how you perceive the quality of your reading? Are you the best medium in the world if you get name, street address, phone number, bank account number, social security number, right? Like, do you think that's the best there is? Do we care about like proving that life exists beyond the physical world? Or do we want to continue the messages? And it's not necessarily about the evidence. It's about continuing the communication and the loving messages and the advice and support and healing, right? So I'm going to challenge you. Are you typically someone who is more black and white, who follows the rules, right? Who wants to be the best of the best? I'm chuckling a little bit, within the existing structures that exist today. Well, Lord, I was. Did I tell you I graduated 6th in my high school class and like 4th in my college class? Oh man, I was so good at playing the game, right? I was so good at black and white. I was so good at following the rules. Doesn't mean you're going to stay there forever. Obviously, I haven't. And after you really do that internal assessment, I want you to look around. Actually, I want to say look around you, look at your teachers, look at your influences, but then I'm reminded of the law of correspondence here. So what is happening within us? Let me say that again. Apologies. What is happening around us is a direct reflection of what is going on within us. So as you look around yourself, or you think about looking around yourself, because as you might be driving in a car, I don't know, maybe you're working out, good for you. You might be surrounding yourself with things that are mirrors of yourself. Hang on, it's not might, you are surrounding yourselves with mirrors of yourself. Are you following more traditional teachers on social media or expansive ones? Are you taking those classes from the old classics? Or are you experimenting and learning who else is out there to learn from? Are you just taking mediumship classes or one type of class? Or are you taking many different classes? Are you in a community that encourages you to think outside the box and challenge yourself? How about your friend group? Are they very rigid? Your family, are they very rigid? Like, are they very black and white too? These are all things that I want you to think about when I say look around you, is what is in your environment? Who is in your environment? How do they reflect on you as a person and your perspectives? Because you become rigid by what you allow in from education, from your teachers, from your peers, from your clients, from spirit, from yourself. And if you want more expansiveness, it requires you to get uncomfortable. It requires you to take classes that maybe you would normally take, read books that you wouldn't normally read, look for inspiration in your every moment of every day. Ask spirit to bring you more in your readings. And as it comes in, don't think of it as difficult or you failed because you didn't get it right the first time. Perceive it as interesting and an opportunity to grow. Work with it. There's a reason that has showed up in your readings, and it's usually to expand you and make you think differently. And keep this in mind. Like, you don't have to agree or make sense of what you received, and especially if you don't even know what it is, right? But work with it and see what sticks. And so I just want to challenge you again. You become less rigid by sticking to what's comfortable, by digging in your heels, by saying no to new people, new opportunities, more new environments, and you grow as you say yes to things that feel uncomfortable. And it doesn't mean you have to stay there, but try it out. It's like what I tell my kids all the time. I don't care if you don't like the dinner, but you have to have one bite. You have to try it before you tell me that you hate it. Even if it looks disgusting. God, except this one time I cooked broccoli rabe, I'll never cook that again. It must have been rotten because I will never eat it again. It made me gag. but I tried it. So let's go to the first half of the question is, how do we grow in discernment? And I wanted to separate this out because to me, they are two entirely different questions. Because discernment doesn't necessarily mean truth. And I think this is what gets us caught up with discernment, because we think about discernment from a mediumship perspective or spirit guide. Is this right or wrong, right? Is it black or white? Again, but discernment doesn't necessarily mean true. It means aligning to your truth. And someone else's truth might look very different. Remember the timelines comment I made in the galactic episode? People are living in multiple timelines with multiple truths. Your truth doesn't mean it's wrong for somebody else, right? It could be true for both of you, but it could be also true for you and only you. Discernment, again, is a struggle with the ego, the black, white, the right, wrong. But instead of going down that rabbit hole, I wanted to offer, and like time out, you don't want to hear me go there again. I want to offer a different perspective, because what if discernment wasn't established in the brain? What if it's established in your body? What if you could feel discernment, your inner truth, with your gut, your heart, your body? Because we all know when something is true to us. And I want you to reflect back on something you know to be true, something that you feel is true. Do you know that your departed loved ones are with you? How do you know that? Do you get a warm, tingling, buzzing in your body? Can you feel it in your heart? Can you feel the goosebumps on your skin? How do you know when you get an intuitive hit? Because I'll tell you what, if you try to discern that with your brain, it's going to ration its way out of it. Do you just know it in the moment? How do you know that sometimes this is the right thing to do? I mean, I'll give you an example. I always knew I would never go for my MBA. I always knew that. Once I graduated from my bachelor's degree in business, I knew I would never go back to school for an MBA. Like walking out of college, I knew I would never be back. Why? I have no idea. I had companies that paid for it for free. Should I have taken it? Yeah, probably. But I knew I would never go back. And now here I am talking to you about discernment in your gut. Okay? So when you know something is true, you just know it to be true. And your logic and your brain should not be able to convince you otherwise. So I just want you to know that your body will indicate discernment for you. And it might not happen right away. Maybe discernment means, as we're talking about these flashes being galactic, and it's not galactic, it's not in your wheelhouse, maybe there's an interest there. Maybe there's curiosity there. Maybe it's not a knowing yet, but it's it's not a hard no. And that is also discernment, right? Because now you can take time to think about this, to learn, gather facts, ask spirit to bring you things. And you might change your perspective, or it might evolve over time into a deep knowing, whether it's a heck yes or a heck no. But just that curiosity of not shutting the door, that's also discernment. And so this more traditional idea of discernment, whether it's right or wrong, I want you to challenge your whole basis of that and say, like, who is that for? Because that's for somebody else. That's to prove your validity, your trustworthiness, your integrity to somebody else. And I'm going to tell you, discernment should come from within instead of outside. And again, I want to bring this back to mediumship for a moment here, because I think this is why it is such a lovely modality to start with. I think psychic is great too. Psychic can be subjective, whereas mediumship to me is more objective, which is why I like mediumship a little bit better, because it's black or white, right? it's clear and agreed upon what the discernment of mediumship is, both for you as the reader and the sitter as well. You both have to agree that your uncle is departed, right? You have to agree that he died of lung cancer. You have to agree that it's like he had 2 left feet. I don't know why that one came up. That he tripped all over himself, couldn't dance or anything like that, right? Like, this is black or white information. The answers are right or wrong. There is clear and agreed upon discernment between you and the sitter. And so for me, mediumship is such a wonderful foundation for the spiritual work. If you want to work in this space, it's, when I say the space, I mean spiritual communication, spirit communication. That's how I kind of define it all. It is such a great way for you to understand the basis and the foundation of communicating with spirit, and how you learn over time, whether it's your brain making it up or if it's spirit coming in. And because once you're grounded in that very clear black and white discernment of mediumship, then you can start to explore other modalities with that same foundational trust. Because how you know something is true in mediumship can be literally like lifted and loaded for those of you in the corporate world. For everyone else, you can copy paste it into the other modalities. You can copy and paste your discernment into spirit guides, your higher self channeling, Akashic records, galactic readings, because how you know something to be true in mediumship will show up the exact same way in the other readings. It may not necessarily feel exactly the same. It might not look exactly the same working in these different modalities. But again, that core communication foundation, those components are consistent across the modalities. And you can trust them, like one at a time, as you're working in these other modalities by validating the messages, because sometimes they come with evidence, even though it's Akashic records and higher self. And sometimes they come with that feeling of just knowing, and that will resonate for you, and you'll be able to learn discernment through that space, again, in your body. And so I guess to bring it home and to answer your question, Sarah, I'm being reminded of Schitt's Creek. God, I hope they bring that quote to me in a second. The label doesn't matter. Someone is saying it out loud. I'm sorry, I can't channel you right now. But it's like it's the wine quote from Schitt's Creek. Like, I just like wine. The label doesn't really matter to me, right? Like, that's it. Realistically, it only matters if I'm just like reeling back for a second, because realistically, no, the label doesn't matter at all. But realistically, if you have a sitter, it does matter a little bit if it helps the message be received by the sitter, because our egos are always going to get in the way. We're human. I wish we could throw that out the window, but we can't. So if it helps the sitter to resonate, that's kind of essentially how I pick what modality I go in at this point, by however the message will be best received by the sitter. There you go. And then to answer your other question, Sarah, as you grow in your abilities and modalities, your discernment grows with it. And I'm going to end this with an Albert Einstein quote, because I'm so lame. God, I'm such a nerd. Because he said, the more I learn, the more I realize how much I don't know. And I can tell you, as I continue to evolve in this metaphysical space, as now I'm going galactic and I'm learning other modalities, honest to God, the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know. And so your discernment, to me, is almost like inverse to what you learn. The more you learn, the less discernment you have, because you're just open to all of it. You're like, well, what's next? What modality do I not know about now? Give me more. I want to learn more. So there you go. Hopefully this was super interesting and super helpful. It's philosophical a little bit today. I loved that so much. And hopefully you're calling on your wisdom of the Magi if you have any questions or concerns about this podcast. But you can also email me, podcast@mediumnicole.com. And I just want to thank you for being here so much. I appreciate you more than you know. So from my soul to yours, I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care.